Israeli forces raid multiple villages in West Bank. At least 3 killed in Russian bomb strike in Kharkiv. Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Nicholas and you're watching World Today. Palestinian fighters in the occupied West Bank confronted Israeli occupation forces that raided multiple towns in the territory on Saturday. It was reported that occupation forces stormed the town of Berita in Nablus and were confronted by locals. According to locals, a special Israeli force supported by several armored vehicles stormed the town of Kalkilia, which lies on the western side of the West Bank near several Israeli occupied cities. Locals also reported on a raid on the village of Odala in Nablus and the village of Kaf Sur in Tulkam. In the latter, a Palestinian was wounded by live Israeli gunfire near the Jabara checkpoint. In Sinjil, Ramallah, occupation forces stormed the town on Saturday as the Israeli government carried out its policy of maximum pressure against Palestinians in the West Bank. Israeli settlers participated in attacks on Palestinians as a group of illegal settlers attacked residential buildings in the Wadi Rahal south of Beit Halam. Israeli forces detained at least 25 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, including former detainees, over a period of 24 hours. On the other hand, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades in Tulkam said that its fighters attacked occupation forces near the Shaweka Gate, the western entrance into the city. Meanwhile, thousands of Israeli protesters rallied in Tel Aviv on Saturday, calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to resign and for the government to accept a ceasefire deal to release hostages held by the Hamas in Gaza. Netanyahu's government has insisted that it will not stop the war until Hamas is destroyed. Netanyahu faces pressure from nationalist religious parties in his coalition to refuse a deal with Hamas and go ahead with the long-promised offensive against the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Although surveys show solid support among the Israeli public for continuing the war against Hamas. The protests underscore the division in Israeli society that have reopened following a period of unity at the start of the war. Despite growing international pressure for a ceasefire, an agreement to halt the fighting still appears distant, more than 8 months since the start of the war in October, with the near-daily cross-border exchanges of fire with Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon intensifying. A daily pause the Israeli military declared in Gaza to facilitate aid flows has had no impact on deliveries of badly needed supplies. The 8 months military campaign by Israel have led to dire humanitarian conditions in the Palestinian territory and repeated UN warnings of famine. The World Health Organization WHO representative in the Palestinian territory said the so-called pause had no impact on the trickling humanitarian supplies coming into the besieged territory. Medical charity Doctors Without Borders (MSF) warned in a statement that without a significant refill of medical supplies in the coming days, the NGO may have to stop or drastically reduce some of its medical activities in Gaza. According to the WHO, as of 17th of May, only 750 people remained in the city of Rafah. There were between 60,000 and 75,000 in the Al-Mawasi area in the south of the Gaza Strip, where many Palestinians have taken refuge since the start of the Israeli offensive in Rafah. MSF and the WHO are calling for the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt to be reopened for humanitarian aid and medical evacuations. Russian-guided bombs struck an apartment building in Ukraine's second-largest city of Kharkiv on Saturday, killing at least 3 people, injuring 29, and prompting President Vladimir Zelensky to call for more help from Kyiv's allies. Ukrainian Interior Minister Ihor Klemenko revised the number of those killed upwards to 3 after the regional governor Oleh Snehubov earlier said 2 had been killed. Snehubov also said 2 children were among the injured and 4 of those hurt were in serious condition. According to Kharkiv's mayor Ihor Terekhov, there had been 4 strikes and residents had to run to safety from the site of the destroyed apartment block on hearing explosions after the initial strike. Others ran to the site looking for their relatives whilst rescuers helped clear the building. Kharkiv lies about 30 kilometers from the border with Russia. The city of about 1.3 million people has frequently been targeted in Russian attacks during nearly 28 months of war. Russia has relied increasingly on the use of the bombs, relatively inexpensive, dropped from a distance and involving fewer risk for its forces. At least 3 people were missing on Saturday after massive thunderstorms and rainfall in southeast Switzerland caused a landslide. It was reported that 1 woman was pulled out alive after being buried by the landslide in the Alpine valley of Missox in Graubünden, while a rescue operation for the 3 others is ongoing. Elsewhere, the popular tourist town Zermatt in the southern canton of Valais near the iconic Matterhorn mountain remains inaccessible as heavy rains and melting snow have caused the Matter-Vispa river to overflow, cutting it off. The Matterhorn-Gotthard railway also halted operations with no alternative transportation available. Emergency services in the canton of Valais have been on high alert over the levels of the Rhone River, which reached its peak on Saturday. Authorities have warned residents to avoid lower parts of their houses, including cellars, and keep away from swelling rivers and refrain from parking on bridges. People were also advised against filming or photographing the floods due to safety reasons. Train services between Visp and Zermatt have been suspended, with replacement buses operating between Visp and Tars to accommodate stranded passengers. The banks of the Rhone and its tributaries are off limits to the public this weekend due to the flooding risk. Up next, China wraps up rescue and cleanup efforts in flood-hit provinces. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame defended his country's democratic credentials as campaigning opened Saturday for the 15th of July presidential election, with the incumbent widely expected to extend his 24-year-old iron-fisted rule over the Great Lakes nation. 9 million Rwandans are registered to vote in the poll to be held concurrently with legislative elections, a first in the country. Kagame has been Rwanda's de facto ruler since the end of the 1994 genocide, which claimed some 800,000 lives, mostly Tutsis, but also moderate Hutus. President since 2000, the 66-year-old will face the same rivals as he did in 2017. The leader of the opposition Democratic Green Party, Frank Habineza, and former journalist Philippe Mpayimana, who is running as an independent. Rwandan courts also rejected appeals from prominent opposition figures Bernard Ntaganda and Victor Ingabire to remove previous convictions that effectively barred them from contesting. The Election Commission also barred Kagame critic Diane Riwagara, saying she had failed to provide a criminal record statement as required and had not met the threshold of acquiring 600 supporting signatures from citizens. Crowds of tourists have been waiting in the port of Naples to be allowed onto the Italian island of Capri on Saturday as the local administration works to secure water supplies after damage to the aqueduct on the mainland deprived it of running water. Capri Mayor Paola Falco said tourists have booked a hotel on Capri will be allowed back on the island, adding hotels will be responsible for ensuring they have water. Earlier on Saturday, Falco had issued an order to halt tourist arrivals after some pipe burst in the coastal town of Castellammare di Stabia, leaving Capri residents without water. In May and June, Capri was the most popular Italian destination among foreign tourists, who accounted for 84% of total visitors to the country, according to a recent analysis from Libra Tech, a company that provides tech solutions to hotels and tax-free shopping data from Global Blue. Tourists on average spend 4 days on the island off the coast of Naples, with almost a third of them U.S. nationals. Chinese state broadcaster CCTV on Saturday aired footage of ongoing rescue operations in the flood-hit southern region of China. The footage shot in Jiangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region also showed residents cleaning up debris from flooded streets. Days of torrential rain, flash floods and landslides across southern China prompted authorities to escalate emergency measures as swollen rivers threatened to disrupt millions of lives. The annual flooding season started earlier than usual this year in China's south, with intense storms sweeping away bridges, destroying low-rise homes, devastating agricultural output and inundating numerous cities. State media reported, quoting the National Meteorological Centre, several areas may experience more torrential rain over the next 2 weeks as a persistent rain belt shifts northward. A satellite developed by China and France, the most powerful yet for studying the farthest explosion of stars, was launched into orbit on Saturday from the Zhejiang Satellite Launch Center in the southwestern province of Sichuan, China. Developed by engineers from both countries, the Space Variable Objects Monitor (SVOM) will seek out gamma rays bursts, the light from which has traveled billions of light years to reach Earth. The 930-kilogram satellite carrying 4 instruments, 2 French, 2 Chinese, will lift off aboard a Chinese Long March 2C rocket from a space base in Zhejiang in the southwestern province of Sichuan. Gamma ray bursts generally occur after the explosion of huge stars, those more than 20 times as big as the Sun, or the fusion of compact stars. The extremely bright cosmic beams can give off a blast of energy equivalent to over 1 billion suns. The project stems from a partnership between the French and Chinese space agencies, as well as other scientific and technical groups from both nations. Space cooperation at this level between the West and China is fairly uncommon, especially since the United States banned all collaboration between NASA and Beijing in 2011. Coming up, Belgium keeps Euro 2024 hopes alive as Portugal secures last 16 spot. The Squash Rackets Association of Malaysia, SRAM, is confident its players will pull something off at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Squash will be debuting at the Olympics at the LA Games. SRAM President Gerard Monteiro said while the association has secured funding to prepare players like S. Shivashangri and Ng Ian Yeo for LA 2028, they also need to prepare the next crop of players if squash is retained for Brisbane 2032.
So sekarang kita ada a new band of players that will be able to do well for Malaysia in the next 4, 5, 6 years lah. Okay, and betul, China, they are, now that squash is in the Olympics, they are going to throw a lot of money into squash, and they have taken Ong Beng Hee, who is one of the best in the world.
In LA 2028, each country can have a maximum of 2 players in the men's and women's individual events. However, the qualifying process has yet to be finalized. According to Gerard, Shivashangri is currently ranked number 10 in the world, but SRAM's mission now is to help her break into the top 8. Gerard also hoped that Ifa and Aira Azman, as well as Rachel Arnold, would be in the top 10 soon. The Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, is set to further expand the Puteri Under-15 Football League in a mission to develop more new talents to enhance the quality of women's football in the country. FAM's Women's Football Committee, Dato' Suraya Yaakob, said she does not rule out the possibility of increasing the prize money to attract more teams to join the league. When met by reporters after the closing ceremony of the Puteri U15 Football League at the PKNS Sports Complex field, Dato' Suraya also said that FAM will intensify efforts to empower women's football by collaborating with the Ministry of Education Malaysia, KPM, this July. The 2024 Putri Under-15 League Championship saw SSS Leopard FC crowned as the overall champions after accumulating 21 points from 8 matches over 8 weeks, taking home a prize of 15,000 ringgit. The runner-up was Velocity Academy, taking home 10,000 ringgit after collecting 20 points, while third place went to Malacca with 17 points, bringing home 5,000 ringgit. Velocity Academy player Putri Mia Alisa Ahmad Zaki Yamani, 13, was the top scorer and named the most valuable player of the tournament, receiving a trophy and 2,000 ringgit in prize money. Patrick Schick chested home to earn the Czech Republic a 1-1 draw against debutant Georgia on Saturday in an entertaining match, but it leaves both teams in a tricky spot in Euro 2024 Group F. Georgia coach Willy Sagnol said his players' disappointment at their opening defeat showed how far his team has come, and they gave everything in Hamburg to earn their first Euro points. Goalkeeper Georgi Mamadashvili made a string of superb saves to keep his team in the game, and they took the lead just before the break through Georgia's Mikau Tazde's penalty. The Czechs were back level when Euro 2020 joint top scorer Patrick Schick chested home from close range after substitute Andres Alinga's header from a corner bounced back off the post. Schick's strike took him ahead of Milan's Barros as their top ever Euro scorer with 6 goals, but the Bayer Leverkusen forward limped off with an apparent calf injury midway through the second half. Georgia players collapsed to the turf at full time, devastated at the chance to win the game slipping through their fingers. Meanwhile, Portugal swept into the last 16 early this morning after comfortably seeing off Turkey 3-0 and guaranteeing first place in Group F. Portugal looked every inch a team aiming to win their second European Championship after triumphing in the 2016 edition. Once the match got underway, there was a clear gap in class between the two sides, and Portugal went deservedly ahead through Bernardo Silva's fine finish at the 21st minute mark. Soon after, Samed Akedin gifted Portugal a 2-goal lead with his sloppy back pass, which turned into an own goal as Zeki Selek and goalkeeper Alte Bayinder tried in vain to prevent the ball crossing the line. Those 2 goals and the dominance of the Portuguese players quietened down the partisan crowd, and the result was sealed with Bruno Fernandes stroked home his former Manchester United teammate Cristiano Ronaldo's present of a pass. The Portugal fans then turned up the volume to celebrate their country reaching the last 16. In another match, Yuri Talisman breathed new life into Belgium's Euro 2024 campaign as the Aston Villa midfielder scored a goal after just 73 seconds, inspired in a vital match against Romania. Domenico Tedesco's side would have been on the brink of elimination if they had suffered a second successive Group E defeat. Talisman's goal after 2 minutes set Belgium on their way to a 2-0 win against Romania on Saturday, reigniting his side's hopes of reaching the last 16 of Euro 2024 after a surprise defeat in their opening match. Belgium flew out of the traps when Romelu Lukaku laid the ball off to the onrushing Talisman to flash home a right-footed drive from 19 yards. The stage is set for a dramatic final round of fixtures in the battle to reach the last 16. Belgium face Ukraine and Romania play Slovakia on the 26th of June. With 45 ranks separating the two nations in FIFA's rankings, third place Belgium's 1-0 loss to Slovakia on Monday was the biggest upset in European Championships history. Romania, ranked in 47th place, competed gamely as they chased their own shock, but this time Belgium's superior class proved decisive. Moving on to Copa America, 2-time champions Chile opened their bid for a third title with a goalless draw against Peru in Arlington. A scrappy encounter at the Texas home of the Dallas Cowboys NFL team saw neither side manage to get on top before a result that boosted Argentina's hopes of winning Group A. Chile were left rueing a golden missed chance from a veteran Inter Milan forward Alexis Sanchez in the 16th minute. Sanchez, one of the heroes of Chile's back-to-back Copa America victories in 2015 and 2016, was teed up in the 6th-yard box after a low pass from Victor Davila. But with plenty of time and space, the 35-year-old somehow scooped his shot over the bar as Peru were given a huge let-off. Despite his frustration in front of goal, Sanchez insisted Chile was satisfied with their display. Sanchez's botched effort what ended up being the best chance of the night for Chile, who enjoyed 65% of possession yet only managed one shot on target during the game. A disjointed encounter never really got going, with some 37 fouls breaking up play and contributing to a lackluster spectacle. Peru's best chance came near the hour mark when Gianluca Lapadula volleyed over the close range. Chile will face Argentina in their second match on Tuesday in New Jersey in a replay of the 2016 Copa Centenario final at the same venue.
Melaksanakan misi, mempertahan maruah, mencipta secara setia, perkembangan takkan jenta dengan asalkan membuat peluang terus tegakkan satu perjuangan, satu suara akan mendidik jangan didadana memburu takkan keraguan, kekuatan bicara.
Next, in the offbeat segment, Miniature Euro 2024 exhibition delights fans. Harry Potter fans can now catch a glimpse of the original cover artwork for Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on display at the Sotheby's, New York. Artist Thomas Taylor was one of the first to read J.K. Rowling's original manuscript. Using watercolor and black pencil, he created the cover art in just 2 days. Sotheby's estimate the illustration will fetch between $400,000 to $600,000 when it goes under the hammer on the 26th of June, a record estimate for any Harry Potter material offered at auction.
So I think since its publication in 1997, Harry Potter's popularity has really just skyrocketed. And I think that accounts for the demand. Whether you're a very serious book collector or you're a fan, it really does kind of touch a chord. And so finding this original material, whether it's the cover art that hasn't been offered in more than 20 years, or first edition in good condition, they are truly rare objects that have really contributed to this wonderful world of Harry Potter that has just become a global phenomenon.
Sotheby's last sold the illustration in London in 2001 for £80,000, far above the pre-sale estimate of £20,000 to £25,000. Guinness World Record breaker for the largest model train set, a museum in Hamburg is now also a home to miniature replicas of city's Euro 2024 hotspots and soccer scenes. Volksparkstadion Hamburg, the home of the Hamburg SV that has a capacity of 57,000 and city's fan zone are the main highlights of the temporary soccer theme exhibition. No slightest detail was missing at the mini version of Volksparkstadion Hamburg. Tiny figurines of fans at the stadium stalls screen with the match being broadcasted, and figurines of UEFA volunteers are all part of the replica. A passionate soccer fan and the co-founder of A Miniature Wonderland, Frederic Braun, said he wanted to pay homage to his home city hosting Euro 2024. He said a museum team originates ideas from the brainstorming sessions, drawing inspiration from memorable, funny or viral moments that happened during the tournament.
It's almost identical. So what you see here is almost what you get at the real stadium. So exactly the amount of people, obviously the colours, the Albanian colours and Croatian colours. So that's the only difference to this one, to the main one.
The museum started to build exhibits a few weeks prior to the tournament, first unveiling the replica of the stadium before the tournament kicked off. Braun said that as the championship moves on, more soccer-themed scenes will be put on display. Brazilian paleontologists announced they discovered fossils of a reptile that formed the Earth in the Middle Late Triassic before dinosaurs existed. The discovery made in the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul marks the fourth of its kind globally, with previous findings only in China and Argentina, and it was the first one in Brazil.
No momento que surgem os dinossauros, logo no momento subsequente da história evolutiva na Terra, os Gracilicidae são completamente extintos ou, dependendo de alguns fósseis, eles acabam ficando ainda menores, com animais que não chegam a passar de 30 centímetros de comprimento e posteriormente são extintos, assim como outras linhagens desse grupo que mais tarde dá origem aos jacarés e crocodilos.
Researchers anticipate that this discovery will provide significant insights into the evolution of Pseudoschutia, the lineage that evolved into modern-day crocodiles. That concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Israel ramps up illegal policy of maximum pressure against Palestinians. Till then, I'm Olivia Nicholas. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.